Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Humor Live, where today's topic is stay organized and read books, an exploration of the file management and Victor Reader application. My name's Andrew Flattress. I'm the Braille product manager at Humorware, and today joining me once again is Peter Chusik, the brand ambassador. Hi, Peter.
Andrew, what's up, my friend?
I'm very tired tonight. I'm very
I know
tired.
you're
It's been
putting in. You talk about overtime. This is Andrew's commitment to all of us. So this is easy peasy for me. It's only it's only almost bedtime, not way past bedtime.
yeah. But anyway, I'm here and keen to get going. So, anyway, during this webinar, we will learn, or you will learn, how to best manage your files and books, in addition to how we can connect to online digital libraries and read them efficiently using the inbuilt book reader application of Victor Reader on the Brilliant BIX series. So all things that we do discuss today will apply to both the 20X and the 40X models. So on the agenda, we're going to stay organized using key files. We're going to look at downloading and reading books with the Victor Reader. And at the end, we should have some time for some questions and answers. So let's kick off by starting on key files. And why would you use key files? You know, in what reasons would you use key files? Well, first of all, key files is an application which is a file manager application that allows you to stay organized with all your books and files. You perhaps would use key files if you want to transfer files to and from external drives. You might also know about the limitations within KeyPad, where there is a limit to the size file that you're unable to open. So if there's a situation you'll find yourself that there's a file that doesn't open in KeyPad and you just want to read it, the Victor Reader application, for example, does give you that little bit extra in terms of file limitations. So you perhaps want to transfer the right file in the right folder. And of course, just saving your files to and from different drives, you know, from an SD card to a USB. That's one of the many reasons why you'd use the file manager. Of course, organizing is crucial, you know, staying organized with your files, creating folders, nice and clean, as we say. So let's first of all discuss some of the methods then of navigation within key files. So in the traditional Keysoft style, there are various methods of navigating. You can use your spacebar, that will take you forward through a list, and then of course backspace will take you back. You can use your thumb keys to go forwards and backwards, or you can use first letter navigation. You can even perform a find command to jump straight to where that file is or folder. Now, when using the file manager application for the very first time, you might think it's like a forest where you can easily get lost. And you will hear me say this a lot when dealing with any kind of file management amongst our Keysoft products. But the first place to start is at your drive list. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to the very main menu of my Braille display. So as I press all 6 dots and spacebar to the main menu, or you can press your home key, which is the circle button at the very front of your Braille display. The first item in the list is Terminal. Now to go through to File Manager, again, Keysoft fashion, space through or thumb keys, or you can even press the letter F to jump to File Manager key files. I'm going to select that by pressing the Enter key, or you can press the cursor key, entirely up to you, your own preference. And what that does is then takes me into your first sort of level folders, your sort of storage device, internal storage. Now, as I navigate around here using my spacebar, I'm noticing there is something on the first cell. Now, the first cell, if it ever come across a folder, is annotated by a full cell of 8 dots, followed then by the folder name. So for example, you'll have books, you'll have documents, you'll have a folder called new release. And at the very beginning, at the very first cell, you'll have all 8 dots raised, and that indicates that it's a folder. So whenever you come across something like that, you know that it's a folder. If you carry on going and there isn't an all 8 dots in front of the name, then that will be a file. Okay, so that's how you would differentiate between what a folder is and what a file is. But as I mentioned, the great takeaway for today out of all of this is the space with D. Okay, so think of Drive. So whenever in a file management situation, and this will apply to if you want to change the path of saving a file on the Brilliant. Whenever you're in that file manager situation, pressing space with D will jump straight to your list of drives. Now, as I do that, my first item is storage. Now, as I space through, I've got cancel, and again, I've got storage. So it's a carousel menu, like Keysoft does. But if I had my USB stick in there, it would come and prompt me with USB. If I had my SD card, if you've got a Brilliant 20X, it will come up as SD card. Of course, if you haven't got anything plugged in, then it's not going to be noticed. It's not going to see that whatsoever. So the first item I'm going to choose is storage. We're going to create some folders within my storage in internal memory. Just remember that there is 32 gigabytes of internal storage on the 40X, and there's 16 gigabyte on the 20X. So I'm going to press enter on the storage, and it takes me back to that first level list of folders. So as I mentioned, you've got several pre-installed folders, and mentioned that the folders are denoted by that full cell before the name. That will include books, online books, documents, and release notes. You may not have anything in there whatsoever, but nevertheless, they're the default folders that will be created. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create a folder. So at this point, this is my first level folder. I'm going to create a new one by pressing space with the letter N for new. So space with the letter N will start the new folder procedure, and I'll get prompted on my Braille display, new folder, and then I've got my brackets, it's my edit field. So I'm now in a situation where I'm ready to type. So I'm going to call this test and press enter. And that's the first folder created. If you want to do another one, I'm just going to do another one here. Again, I'm still in that first level folder here. I'm going to press space and N. I'm going to call this one Andrew, and then press enter again. And when you create your folder, it will take you straight to that folder's name. Okay, it won't take you in it, but it will actually focus at that point. So you'll at this stage, I've got all 8 dots raised, and then I've got Andrew shown on the Braille display. Now, if you want to delete that folder, so I'm now going to, let's say, delete the test folder. So I'm going to space through here. I've got my books, documents folder, online books, release notes. Here we are, test, and it's got that all 8 dots raised. To delete, again, in traditional Keysoft fashion, is backspace, lower G. So backspace dots 2, 3, 4, and 6. And when you do that, you will get a confirm deletion message. Now, if that becomes annoying, now if you delete a lot of folders and you want to avoid having that confirmation message, that can be changed. Okay, you can set that to no in the user settings. By default, it is set to on, so you'll always have a confirmation to delete that folder. Again, we're now looking for the OK confirmation, so I'm going to press the space bar, and I've got OK. We press the space again, it would say cancel if that's not the file or folder you want to delete. I'm going to press enter to select OK, and you'll get the message deleting, or you'll get a quick message saying deleting, and then it will say deleted. Confirmation of that saying it's completely removed. And there isn't no recycling folder here before anyone asks. I know that's something that was quite commonly on our other Braille products. You know, once you've deleted a file or deleted a folder, unfortunately, there's no way to take that back. So just make sure you check and double check before you delete that folder. Okay, creating subfolders then. So creating subfolders allows you to stay even more organized. Perhaps you have a folder called work, and this folder there are multiple folders inside it, like for example, the month of the years. So let's use this as an example. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create a folder called work, and then we're going to create a subfolder in that called June 2021. So again, remember, let's start at the very beginning in the File Manager app. We're going to press space with the letter D. Takes me to my drive, and I want to put it into my storage. So I've got storage on my Braille display. I'm going to press enter, and it takes me to that first level list of folders where I've got my Andrew folder, books, and so on. This is where I exactly want to create my first level folder here. So we're going to do space with the letter N, new folder. It's got my brackets again. I'm going to call this work, okay, and then press enter. So that's my first folder created called work. Once we're on that folder, work, okay, so we've got all 8 dots of work, we're going to press enter to take me into that folder. Okay, I'm in that folder and it's prompted me empty. Okay, and quite rightly so, because there's nothing in there. As I press the space bar, I have a couple of options. I have back and then empty. Now, if you want to exit this folder, you can either navigate to back or you can press space and E, and that will take you out of a folder each time until you get to the very beginning. Okay, but this, in fact, is where I want to create that subfolder. So I am in the right place. I'm currently in the folder called work. Although it's empty, I want to create a new folder in here. So I'm just going to do that. Again, space with the letter N again. And again, I prompted with new folder. And here I'm going to type in June and 2021. And then press enter. And that's created. So I've now got a subfolder of June 2021 in my main folder called work. Let's do another one. Let's create a new folder, a new subfolder, and let's call this one July. Okay, space and N, and I'm going to do JULY, and then 2021 again, and then enter. So I've now got 2 folders in my 2 subfolders in my work folder. Okay, let's go back out then. So I'm going to press the space and E to exit me out. That will exit me out of my work folder and put me back to the very first list of all those other folders at this point. If I press space and E again, it takes me even further back, all the way back to that storage, you know, the list of drives, storage, and SD cards, and so on. But as I mentioned, the real tip of the day here, it's space with the letter D. That will always take you back to that that list of drives. So if you ever get lost in the file management app, space and D, and then start again at the very beginning. So let's rename some files. So similar to deleting, what we first need to do is move the focus to the folder that you want to rename. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename that July folder that I've just created, and I'm going to call that May. So there's a number of ways you can do this. Of course, the quickest way would be to find. So you could actually perform a find command by pressing space and F. But I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to do it the basic way. And once you get confident, that's when you can start using more of the shortcuts here. So space and D, list of drives, enter on storage. I'm going to navigate, use my space bar till I find my first folder, which is work, pressing enter on that. And I'll now have all my subfolders here, July 2021 and June 2021. So let's navigate all the way back to July 2021. And that's the one that I want to rename. So you don't press enter on here, because if you press enter, you go into the folder. So you don't want to do that. Instead, what we're doing is we're going to rename, and the Keysoft shortcut to rename is backspace with the letter R. So backspace letter R. You'll then get a prompt rename with the brackets, and it will be underlined. So it will currently say the folder name. So it says July 2021, but all dots 7 and 8 are underneath the title of that document, which means that it's highlighted and you're ready to replace that name entirely. So all that I'm going to do at this point is just type in May, M-A-Y, 2021. I'm going back a couple of months, and then press enter. And that's now renamed my July folder to May. Okay, so the last and grand finale is moving files and folders. Now you might want to copy a file to a memory stick and use it on another device, or vice versa. This could be really useful. So remember, when you're creating files on the Brailliant X series, it will actually create you a TXT file. So straight away you could save that directly onto a USB stick or an SD card, or perhaps you've got it in your storage and you want to transfer it to a friend or a colleague's USB stick so that they can read. Now, once we plug in our external devices, the Brailliant BIX will recognize that and prompt you. So if you do plug in a USB stick, it will say USB inserted, and then you'll be good to go. And the same with the SD card. Remember, however, when you do plug in external devices, and I'm sure Peter will also mention about this, is that you do need to eject it. Again, like we do with the Windows PCs, we have to eject. We need to make sure that we safely remove those devices. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a situation where your files and folders get corrupted. So to do that, if you do want to remove your drive, we press Enter and the letter E, and that will force the eject. Okay, and you'll then get prompted, what do you want to eject? And you space to the relevant external storage. So you could have SD card, USB, and you press enter, and then it will say safely remove, and then you can unplug that peripheral out of the device. So, let's say we've got our device plugged in, our SD card or USB plugged in. The first thing that we need to do when we go into the file manager, again, I'm repeating myself here, is space and D for that list of devices. Now, this time, as I space through, I've got storage, I space again, I then have USB. I've got the Brilliant BR40X here, so I haven't got an SD card. If you have got the 20X, you will have the option of USB or SD card. But on this 40X, I've got USB only, so I'm going to press enter on the USB. And again, it's taking me to that first level folders. So it's about simply finding that file or folder that you want to copy over. Okay, so you navigate by using your space bar, your thumb keys, or if you want to do a quick find, you can do space and F. When you get to that folder or file, we then need to perform the copy command. The copy command on Keysoft is backspace with the letter Y, backspace with Y. You'll get a prompt to say copied. Again, the message time will depend on your settings, but by default, it's about 5 seconds. It will show copied. That means now that that file or folder that you've selected to copy is on the clipboard and ready to be pasted anywhere you wish. So I want to go back to my list of drives and select storage. So space and D, and enter on storage, and I want to paste it in my work folder. So I'm going to press space through into the find work. I'm going to press enter because I want to create this subfolder, and now I'm going to paste it into here. So backspace with the letter V is the paste shortcut for Keysoft Lite. So backspace and V, and you'll get the prompt pasted, and the focus will actually stay in that file as well. So you won't need to go back again if you just want to open it directly up from your device itself. So just remember, once you finish with that USB, you need to safely remove any of those external storages, enter a V for that eject, and then space to the drive that you wish to remove. So just to summarize then, really briefly before I pass you over to Peter, we've gone through creating folders, space with the letter N, deleting folders or deleting files. You can press backspace, lower G, that's backspace 2, 3, 4, and 6. Creating subfolders, first of all, we need to go into the first folder, and then we can press the space with the letter N. And renaming folders or files, again, backspace with the letter R to rename. And then we talked about transferring files and folders by simply using the copy and paste method. Now, there are other methods that you can use. You can move the cut, okay, if you wanted to use cut. And the difference between cut and copy, for those that don't know, is cut will actually move that file. It will move that file from a USB stick to your storage device. So again, just be sure you know exactly which command that you want to use, because if you do choose the cut, it's going to be removed from that location before. Okay, have I missed anything out there, Peter?
No, I love it, Andy. And I know Andrew's tired when he says that the command to delete is backspace drop G, and then he says 2, 3, 4, 6, because it's 2, 3, 5, 6. Just want to
sorry.
clarify.
Yeah.
I love it though. And Andrew is very proficient in Braille, but I don't know about running on 20 something hours. And I know I was in a meeting with Andrew at 6 this morning or 7 this morning my time. So he's been going a long time, and it was like midday for him at that point. So but the other thing to mention, so and that was fantastic, Andrew, and I think for anybody out there, When you look at and we start to talk about file management and staying organized, think of the file manager just, it is your filing cabinet. It really is a contained environment. It's not something that, as Andrew said, it's not a forest to get lost in. The other thing to keep in mind is that at any point, because there are some commands we didn't cover, which is fine. We don't need to because they're in the context menu. So you're always able to find the cut command of backspace with X, or the copy command of backspace with Y, or the paste command of backspace with V. Or what if you want to mark individual files? Maybe you want to cut 4 files at once. You can find those commands in the context menu. So pressing space with the letter M, as in menu, will always pull those up. So keep that in mind. I get a lot of times, well, how do I copy a file? And I'll say, well, use your context menu, right? It's right there for you, because when you open the context menu, you can then press the letter C and find copy or cut, or press the letter I and you will find the info command. The info command is very useful because it will tell you how big your file is, or the date it was, when was it created, what storage path is it using, what type, right, what format, what size. All of that is in your info menu, space with I, and so on. So again, using the context menu is very important. And the other piece is, always remember, we're using Keysoft Lite. So you are able to use first letter navigation. If you're looking for a specific file, yes, you can do a space with F and type in the name of that file. Or if I know that I've opened my storage drive and I want to quickly move to that work folder that I've created, I can just press W. So it's important to keep in mind, utilize whatever method is going to work best for you, but don't be afraid to look in your context menu, and don't be afraid to certainly use first letter navigation. The other thing I'll mention is when Andrew was naming those files, a lot of times people ask, well, what grade of Braille do I use? And on this device, it's whatever your profile is set to. I work in UEB contracted Braille. So when I'm naming a folder or a file, that's what I'm using. I'm not using any other code because I don't have to. If I was prompted that I had to use some certain code of Braille, like we do on, say, the Touch Plus, where we have to use computer Braille or something, that's a different story. But a lot of times, we're going to talk about this when we go and look for newspapers, which is what I'm about to demonstrate. When we're entering passwords, when we're entering our Wi-Fi information, when we're entering usernames and things, we're using the grade of Braille that we have configured in our language profile. So whether that's contracted UEB, or computer Braille, or US, eBay, or whatever it's going to be, that's what we're using. So don't let it throw you off. A lot of times I come across folks who are very confused, and it's about slowing down, thinking of what your Braille grade is that you are configured to. Now, if you don't know what certain symbols are in that code, I know there's a lot of, especially for older individuals who are using UEB, there's a lot of what is the @ sign, or how do I do a number, or how do I write, say a file extension, or whatever it may be. That's going to be a matter of knowing the code, not necessarily an issue with the device itself. So keep that in mind, and we certainly can always, answer questions on the user list and things if you're totally stuck on. A lot of times people will help with, how do I type in a certain symbol and such. So with that, I'm going to jump over, and again, we talked about folder and file management, which is extremely useful because being organized is something that a lot of times, especially in the education side, that we struggle with because we're so good at keeping things in our head, as blind people. I am no exception. I certainly probably remember what folders I had on my device, 15 years ago or something like that, which is very weird, but that's just what we do. But the more organized we can be, the better. So we really want to utilize files and folders and get content organized. I'll tell you, on a daily basis, creating presentations and PowerPoints and all sorts of pieces. I have so many folders on my devices that help me locate things quickly. I just had to pull up a conference proposal I submitted back in 2015, and I found it in about 7 seconds because I knew it was exactly where it should be. And that's something that is very important and helps us stay organized and stay at the same pace as our peers. So what I'm going to do now, though, is talk about, we've had a lot of requests lately about using Victor Reader, using the Victor Reader application on the BI 20 and 40X to read books. And what I'm going to demonstrate, and this will be a demonstration of NFB Newsline, because it is something that is very powerful and is on the devices and is certainly going to be very useful if you're here in the States. But when we get into the Victor Reader app itself, it will be very relevant regardless of where you bring in a book from. So the process of reading and navigating books or finding books and such will be cross service, so regardless of where you bring in a book from. I am on the main menu, we're going to assume here that you've already connected your device to Wi-Fi, which we have videos on how to do. If you come to our support page on the website, you certainly can find the videos of how you connect to your Wi-Fi and out of box and all that good stuff. But I'm going to press the letter O to move to my online services. So again, I'm on the main menu. You can get there by tapping your home button or by pressing a full cell with spacebar. And I'm going to press the letter O. I'm going to find online services and I'm going to press enter. At this point, you're going to be prompted with the 3 online services that are available currently. And this will definitely expand as we move forward. We currently have 3 services on the device. So we have Bookshare, we have NFB Newsline, and we have NLS Bard, and that is the Braille catalog. You can also hide these libraries. If you don't have a Bookshare account or you don't have an NFB Newsline account, or eventually when we add some library in Sweden and you don't want to see it, you can hide it. So that is an option. You can customize in your options menu, customize your main menu sort of applications, and the applications and online services are also included there for customizing. I am going to select NFB Newsline. So again, when I'm in this list, I can just press N, or I can use my space bar to find NFB Newsline, and I'm going to press enter. And the first time you do this, you will have a configure account option. You also have some settings like, manage publications and various pieces, which we will get to. But we're going to press enter on configure account. And the very first piece says add account. So again, I'm pressing enter on NFB Newsline. I'm then going to select the configure account option. And then the first option says add account. Or if you're looking at something else and you're totally lost, just press A when you're in this menu and you will have add account. It says username. So as soon as I press enter, it says username on my Braille display, and there's an edit box. And I'm going to type in my username for NFB Newsline. And generally this is a 6-digit number. Again, I'm going to enter this using UEB because that is what my Braille grade is set to on my device. That is what my primary profile uses, and that's what I'm using right now. I haven't switched to some other profile. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to press enter. And again, it will say password. And once again, I'm going to enter my password, which generally is a 4-digit number. And you're going to do that in whatever your grade of Braille is. Mine is UEB Braille, which numbers are no different, contracted or uncontracted. So I'm using UEB to type in these numbers, and I'm pressing enter. You'll get a loading message, and then you will get a login successful message, which is what I just got. And instead of having add account, your first option now says remove account. Before we do that, anything else though, I want to come down in this list. So again, once you're in NFB Newsline and you come into configure account, now that you have an account, there is a couple of other options in this list. So if you use your spacebar to come past remove account, you will have an option that says update frequency. And this one is, if you press enter, you will come into a list of always. You can choose daily, or you can do it manually. And this is, again, personal preference. I have mine set to always because I do have a lot of publications that are updated throughout the day. If you want to do it manually, you certainly can. Or if you want it daily, it certainly can check. And I don't know when it checks. I'm assuming there's a way to find that out. I think it's not something we control. I think it pushes at a certain time of day. And I'm guessing that's somewhere around 5 a.m. in your time zone. But I'm honestly not too sure when that pushes. But daily will refresh as long as you have to be connected to Wi-Fi, of course, for these units to sync, for these issues to sync, that is. But you can set this to whatever you want. I like mine set to always, so it is always refreshing any of my papers. There's also a setting that's very important in this menu. Once you're in your configure account menu for NFB Newsline, there is an item here that says keep outdated issues. I would strongly encourage you to turn this off unless you absolutely, for whatever reason, want a lot of outdated issues, because especially if you're dealing with newspapers, there's a new one every day. Slowly but surely, you will end up with 50 or 80 or 100 or 140 newspapers that you just don't need. It's like digital hoarding, right, to the extreme. I know that, I've been in homes where there are newspapers stacked up, and I'll be like, whoa, that's intense, right? But this is certainly the digital way to do that. So if you want to keep outdated issues, feel free if it's something you'd like to do, but you certainly can turn that off. The way NFB Newsline works is for newspapers, you will always have today's issue, yesterday's issue, and then the major or Sunday issue. So right now it is currently Tuesday, so I'm going to have Tuesday's issue of a paper, yesterday's issue of a paper, and Sunday's issue. Tomorrow I would have Wednesdays, Tuesdays, and then Sundays, right? And we get rid of Mondays because it's more than 2 days ago. So again, you can choose to keep these on or off, but I would encourage you, if you can, to turn them off. Otherwise your book list will certainly fill up. Once you do this though, we're going to press space with E and come out of our configure account area for NFB Newsline, we're going to actually look at managing publications because there is so much here. You also have a sync content now option in this NFB Newsline menu below the manage publications option, which is where you go to manually refresh your papers. So if you're looking for something and it wasn't there, I know the NFB Newsline was down over the weekend. I think there were 2 full days where the server was messed up and people were doing this and nothing was happening. And NFB Newsline fixed this yesterday afternoon, but it was down. And from time to time it will go down and you're like, well, things aren't refreshing. And you can certainly try to manually refresh by choosing the sync content now option, or you can definitely set it to do that sort of always for you. What I want to do though is look at manage publications. So I'm going to press enter on manage publications. You will get a loading option. And at this point, you're brought into all of the NFB Newsline categories. And the first one is breaking news online. And that would be all your breaking news and online newspapers. If you press your spacebar, you'll have national newspapers. If you press your spacebar again, you have Spanish and so on. Magazines, blindness specific, just going down the list. This would take me all day and I'm not going to read every single option. But I live in Illinois. I'm going to press the letter I until I get to Illinois. And if I press enter, I will look at the Illinois publications or so on. If I lived in Kansas, I'm going to press K and find Kansas and press enter. If I live in, I don't know, Alabama, I would press A, right? We see here that we're using first letter navigation. This also applies to the different categories. So if I press B, there is no state yet in the United States that starts with the letter B. But if I press B, I'd move to breaking news online. If I press B again, I'd move to blindness specific. So again, you can use first letter navigation in these categories. I am going to press the letter I to find Illinois, and I'm going to press enter. And what it will do is it will load all of the Illinois publications currently offered on NFB Newsline. I would use my spacebar to move down the list, and when I find one that I'd like to subscribe to, I will press a cursor router key. What happens is, you could also press enter, but what happens is the name of your paper that you are subscribed to in your favorites becomes underlined by dots 7 and 8 on the Braille display. So again, if you don't see dots 7 and 8 underneath the paper, it means you're not subscribed to it. If you do see dots 7 and 8, it means you have added it to your favorites. You have added it to your favorites. So right now I currently have, let's say, the Associated Press Illinois channel I am not subscribed to. The Belleville News Democrat I am not subscribed to. I certainly have read it. It's down in the Western Illinois area. You could come down to Chicago Sun-Times. I always have to read the Sun-Times and the Tribune and the Daily Herald, and they're all here, right? We have Horizons for the Blind. The Illinois Council of the Blind is here. Illinois election information. Just, again, you can look down these pieces and you can press enter on whatever you want to subscribe to, and it will just automatically subscribe you to that publication. You don't have to do anything and confirm or anything like that. You just receive a loading message and then you will see that it is underlined. If you don't want it, if you make a mistake, just press enter on one of those issues that is underlined with dots 7 and 8, and it will unfavorite that for you. So again, it's very straightforward when it comes to subscribing to a newspaper. Once you've subscribed to a paper, you can press space with E to move up one level, very much like what Andrew did in the file manager. Space with E moves you up one level here as well. So space with E is an exit, brings me back up to my list of publications, right, by state and category. And if I press space with E again, I come back up into that area where I can manage publications or configure account and so on. And you can also sync content manually. So again, if maybe the moment you subscribe to a few new papers, it never hurts to hit sync content now just to get any new issues that you may have subscribed to. But this is how you manage your papers. Now we're going to go read them. But it's very useful. And I have used NFB Newsline for, oh gosh, I'd say since about 2003. And I still, my wife knows when it's paper time, I'm just like in my own world, just reading all kinds of things from all over the world. And it's something that I really enjoy. There is more than just newspapers. You know, you can get magazines and things, as you can on Bookshare and as you can on NLS Bard as well. So then we will be adding more libraries. And I know it has been said, and it's not a matter of if it will happen, it is a matter of when. So keep that in mind. We are fully aware. We know that we sell, devices in other places than just the United States. So, with Bookshare as well, you can certainly use that in other countries. We have lots of users using Bookshare in other places outside of North America. Now, once you want to read a book, so again, we've downloaded a book, and I've done videos on how to do this in Bookshare as well and in other spots. But once you want to read a book, we come to the main menu and we press the letter V to find the Victor Reader application. And this is where we go to read content. This is where we're going to find all of the books that we download. And there is a lot of supported file types. We recently added PDF to this back in mid-May. It's fascinating. That's already been a month where we're already cruising toward more updates and things like that. So just kind of looking at these updates and things already growing. So the product already grew once. It's going to be growing again, and will continue to grow through the year. But Victor Reader is where we read books and we read content. We read BRF files. We read Daisy books. We read HTML and so on. I'm going to press enter here on Victor Reader. And what happens is once I'm in Victor Reader, there are a couple of things I can do. I have some different categories like book list, which is where all of my books live. And I also have recently read. And recently read is exactly what it sounds like. What was I recently reading? You certainly will have a list of your books that you've most recently read. And you have a search area, which we can always get to by pressing space with F, that is. But you can certainly activate it here and type in a book you'd like to search for in your book list. If you want to enter your book list, you can always press space with the letter B as in book. Space with the letter B as in book or book list. Again, all of your shortcuts, just like in the file manager, they're going to be in your context menu. So always refer to your context menu. Look for options in your context menu. We want you to help yourself. Keysoft is built for you to help yourself. It's also built to be intuitive, but it's really built for you to be able to easily figure out where things are or what to do. So when I press space with B, I'm put into my book list. Now, when you're in your book list, it's going to kind of bring you up into a list of books that will be put in alphabetical order. And these books from A to Z. Now you can, and this came up on the user list, an issue of, well, I have 40 books that start with the letter T because it's the Firefly or the Giver or the something, right? The Moon, I could just keep going. We don't have to press T and just move down all those lists. You can press space with F as in find and type in the word giver, and it will bring, and then press enter, and you will be moved right to the giver when you press enter, and so on. So you can use first letter navigation. So right now in this book list, I have all the books I brought in from Bookshare, from NLS Bard, or from NFB Newsline. If I press the letter C, I move to my my books that start with C, right? So if I have a paper, which I do, in my book list here that starts with C, I find it. So I see Chicago Sun-Times. Here's June 13th. If I press my space bar, I have June 14th, and I press my space bar again, I have June 15th, and so on. And I can just move down this list. Then I have the Chicago Tribune, again, June 13th, June 14th, and June 15th. Tomorrow that would say June 13th, June 15th, and June 16th, because again, it keeps today's, yesterday's, and the major issue, and so on. So you will find your books two different ways, either by searching for them or using first letter navigation. When you open a book, so I am going to open a book. We're going to open let's just open the Sun-Times from yesterday. So I find a book I'd like to open, and I press enter. It will load the book, and if I've been reading the book previously, my cursor will be where it was in the book. Your cursor location will retain its positioning, so you will be able to come in and simply or seamlessly kind of find where you were. You can also add bookmarks, which we'll talk about, but you can definitely know that when you leave a book, your position will be retained. Once you're in a book, and this is NFB Newsline, I love this because the paper becomes so navigable. It's very, very navigable. And anybody who's used the telephone or the website to access these papers knows that it's very easy to do. There's no difference here in terms of moving through content. When you're in a Daisy book, when you're in a book here and you want to look at the levels of navigation, again, you can always find all of these shortcuts in the context menu. And I get emails after I do these webinars that say, Peter, you gave so many shortcuts and I couldn't remember them all. And I'll say, well, I gave you the shortcuts that are in the context menu. So please don't try to memorize what I say while I'm saying it in a webinar. It's really important to take away. I try to, when I give a shortcut, give a letter, associate it with, try to find a reason why we do it. There are certainly some shortcuts that have no explanation, and Andrew and I have definitely had some meetings where we're trying to brainstorm what a certain shortcut could be. to try and have it make some sense. And sometimes you run out of dots or you run out of pieces. But remember that these things live in the context menu. Please don't ever forget that. So when I'm in a book, if I want to move the navigation level, and when we're in DAISY books, or any books for that matter, I mean, any files, we do have navigation or elements that exist. Fortunately, DAISY is built, I mean, that's the reason why the format exists, the DAISY Consortium, and it's built to be navigable by somebody who is blind. It's made for that reason. If I press space with the letter T, as in toggle, I'm going to toggle the navigation level, I will be presented with a list of the levels in my book. And again, there's more than just level 1, level 2, level 3. Fortunately, there are levels in this book, but you will certainly have documents that have no levels because they have not been marked up. But in a newspaper or a magazine from NFB Newsline, level 1 is always the beginning and end of your book. Level 2 are your sort of your headers or your categories. So if I select level 2, so again, I'm in my list of, I press space with T when I'm in a book. I'm going to press L and find level 2, and I'm going to press enter. Now at this point, if I use there are two ways, but if I use the next thumb key, and again, it's the thumb key all the way to the right, whatever you have configured as next, you will move through at level 2. You will move through this book. When I press my next thumb key, the categories are something like obituaries. If I press my next thumb key again, I jump past all those obituary articles over to Metro/State. I press my next thumb key again, jump through all those Metro/State articles to Dear Abby, if we need some good advice. I press my next thumb key again and come to movies and TV. So again, I'm skipping over. There are lots of articles in between these sections, and we'll drill down into them in a moment. But at level 2, I'm navigating through the categories of this. And a lot of times in a Bookshare book, level 2 is your chapters, or if you're in, certain books that have, depending on their markup, sometimes they even go to 4 levels, depending on how well they were created. And some give you very little or no level navigation, and then you just need to find other more creative ways to search for what you're looking for. So I can use next to move through at the level that I have selected. Previous goes the other way. So if I think, oh gosh, I would like to read the Metro/State category here, because I'm sure there's some interesting articles on what's going on here in the city of Chicago, I'm going to press my previous thumb key and jump backwards by level 2. Once I find Metro/State, I can use my inner right thumb key and start reading. Now, if I wanted to then move to the next article in this section, I would want to move to level 3. So I would press T with space, T as in toggle, T with space, find level 3 in the list, press enter, and now I'm moving by articles. And these articles are troubling. I'm not going to read all these headlines. You know what goes on in the city here. But what we get is we're able to move then. The next thumb key moves me forward, article by article at level 3, which is inside. We're inside this Metro/State area heading here. If I moved back up to level 2, I could jump past this and say, well, I want to go find sports. I want to read about my White Sox. I want to see how they're doing. Or I want to move to, I don't know, City Hall or some other section that's in here. You can certainly do that by jumping back to level 2 and then using your previous thumb key to move by it. This is something that we are looking at making even easier. I'm looking at kind of bringing in a command to quickly toggle your levels, much like you toggle the rotor on an iPhone, so you don't have to come into this menu specifically. So stay tuned for that, because we've heard a few people say, well, I want one keystroke that can kind of do this. And it's certainly something we're looking at. So, but for now, T as in toggle, T with space brings you into your level menu where you choose the level you'd like to navigate by. There are other ways to navigate. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you know what you're looking for in a book, I'm going to come to the top of my book by pressing 1, 2, 3 with space, which is your top of file command, 4, 5, 6 with space being the bottom of file command. But I'm going to come up to the top of my book. If I know what I'm looking for, I can press space with the letter F as in find, space with the letter F as in find, and I can search for a string of text in this book. Now, if you know, and it might be another way to get to Metro/State. So instead of having to move to level 3, press your next thumb key until you find it, and then move back to level 2 or whatever it is, you can just press space with F as in find, type in the word Metro, again, the Greater Braille. You are in control of the Greater Braille you're using. Type in Metro, press enter, and you're going to move right to the first occurrence of the word Metro in this book. If you want to go to the next occurrence, you would press space with N as in next. That would find the next occurrence of the search string you are looking for. Space with P finds the previous occurrence of that search string. And this is something, we use a lot as blind people. I use this all the time when I'm using a screen reader like JAWS or NVDA, or VoiceOver if I'm using a Braille display. I search for words on screen all the time to quickly get me where I need to go, so that I'm not kind of swiping a million times or just aimlessly wandering all over pages and things, which I certainly do the first time I look at a website. It's like I'm playing pinball, right? I'm just bouncing all over the place. But once you get a semblance of where you're trying to be, that search piece becomes very valuable. So we saw, you can search in your book list. You can search in a book. We can get exactly where we need to go by typing in a space with F and then searching for a word or a text string. You can search for multiple words and so on. It will have to be an exact match though. And so if you do it too little, if you just type in CL, you're probably going to find a lot of words in any given book that have CL in them, like the word class, the word classic, or the word uncle. So, right, you want to make sure you're being, more specific. Although if you want to search for all the CLs in a book, you certainly have the time to do it. I am not stopping you, so feel free. The other piece here is adding bookmarks. And this is something that is super valuable because you can always pull yourself back to a specific section of a book. Maybe there's an article you want to quickly jump to, or maybe you're reading a novel and you want to quickly take a note. When you get to a point, and again, you can find these in the context menu, but when you get to a point, so when you're saying, okay, I really want to enter a bookmark here, add a bookmark, to go into your bookmarks menu, you will press enter with the letter M as in mark. Enter with the letter M as in mark. So when I press enter with M, I will come into a bookmark menu, and you will see that there are shortcuts here as well. But again, we'll get there. So insert bookmark is the first option, and enter with B is actually the shortcut to do that. You have a go to bookmark option, which is enter with J. And then you'll have a highlight bookmark start, and then remove bookmark. You also have your show highlight bookmarks and so on. And highlight bookmarks are very useful, when you're working with sections of text in a book that you need to cite or that you need to work with. And that's something that, again, a highlight bookmark might be very useful. You set a starting point and an ending point, and then you can kind of set what that is. What is that bookmark about? But if you do press enter with B at any given point, you will insert a bookmark in, and those bookmarks are going to be numbered. So when I press enter with B, wherever I am, I will receive a message that bookmark 1 has been inserted. And at that point, there's bookmark 1. It's there, right? So if I'm at the top of my book and I'm thinking, gosh, I lost my place, or I really need to get back to that bookmark, if I press enter with J and think of the word jump, right? Jump to bookmark, even though it's called go to bookmark, but if you want an easy way to remember the command, it's jump. So enter with J, and it will say, well, which bookmark do you want to go to? I'm going to type in the number 1, and again, I'm doing that just in UEB, and I'm pressing enter, and it brings me right to bookmark 1, which is where it should bring me, right? It's supposed to bring me right there. So you can work with bookmarks. Once if you want to get into and kind of look at your bookmarks and add them and delete them and things like that, that would be where you're going to do that from within your bookmark menu, right? So you can remove bookmarks there under your remove bookmark option. So if you press enter on remove bookmarks, it's going to say, well, which one do you want to remove? Again, I would type in number 1. That's the one I want to get rid of, and I would press enter. So you can certainly add and remove bookmarks as needed. The other piece, quickly, again, before we run away, is there is a way in books to specifically jump to a certain percent or page, or depending on what you have in a book, you do have a go-to option. So in a Bookshare book, it's very useful if you want to get to a certain page. In a newspaper, it's not as useful because things aren't broken up by pages. There isn't like page 36, right? But if you do want to do that, you can. So the go-to is enter with G. Again, commands live in your context menu, but you can go to a certain bookmark or go to a certain pages that way. You certainly could do that, and it might be something, just another way to jump around. But I know a lot of times when it comes to navigating these sorts of books and such, this will be far more useful than just trying to read until you get to a certain point, or trying to navigate by level, or think of creative ways to be as efficient as our sighted peers who just flip through a bunch of pages and get to where they need to be, right? There's no reason we can't do that. I read a ton of stuff. I read a little bit less these days because I have a baby, but I still read, even with the baby. I just like balancer and read, which is awesome. But it's definitely the Victor Reader app. We're looking at some improvements here. Of course, we're always taking feedback. We've had a lot of great suggestions. Andrew is the product manager, and he's really good at pushing those things forward and bringing them, to our development team, and getting the resources to kind of prioritize and look at how we can improve this stuff as we go forward. And as I said, we already saw a 1.1.1 update. We are certainly at the cusp of looking at another update. So good things are coming. A feature that actually has been requested a lot. I'll just tease it there. Something that is unique that is coming that will be very useful when you're connected to external devices. So, just some different pieces that people have been asking for. We're always open to suggestions, and we hope that you'll continue to find the BIX series to be the great Braille display for you. And it's just been amazing how well it's been received. And we're going to keep doing these sorts of webinars and making materials to help you guys understand how to use the devices to their fullest capability. So at this point, I am going to be quiet. It's almost the witching hour where Andrew is. So we're gonna stop the recording, and we are going to take some questions, unless there's anything else you want to add, Andrew, before we get to that.
No, that's great, Peter. I mean, I thought you were going to tell a few more sneak previews of what could be happening or what could be coming on the Brilliant. But
I'm letting you. Yeah. I'm not touching that.
So yeah, as Peter was saying, there is an upcoming version. We're not gonna tell too much. Let's keep everyone at expense and keep them waiting, I think. But it's going to be really good. It's going to be a very good update indeed, version 1.2. So watch this space. I'm going to open up the raised hands. So just bear me one moment while I get that enabled. So the raised hand is now enabled. So if you do want to ask questions, please raise your hand. To raise your hand, you can press Alt plus the letter Y to raise your hand. And then when we ask you to unmute yourself, you can press Alt plus the letter A. You can post your questions in the chat, or there is the Q&A options as well that you can post questions. So please, the floor is now yours.
All right, I think we already have a phone number.
Okay, and the phone number is 161.
161.
Okay, I'm going to allow you to talk. 161.
Okay, I guess that is me.
That is you.
Yeah, I just had a couple quick questions, and I don't guess you'll probably speak to the one, but I do understand. I've heard from a pretty reliable source that one of your upcoming updates will give us the ability to listen like to NLS audiobooks. And I wondered if you could comment on that at all. My second question was, I wanted to know if you could touch a little bit on using this device with something like an iPhone. I do understand that it will pair with an iPhone, and you can use that as a Braille display and input device. Is that correct? And I'll just listen for the answers to both of those. Thank you so much for putting this on today.
Two great questions. So I'm going to take the second. We're going to take them in reverse order. As far as connecting to an iPhone, I would very strongly recommend that you listen to the webinar that we did on May 15th as we dove into how to use the Brilliant BIX series with VoiceOver, with JAWS, and with NVDA. So you 100% can use this with your iPhone or iPad. You certainly can use it as an input device, an output device, all of that. We went through how to pair, basic commands and such. It's all there. There's also a guide, a Word document that is on our website, and that walks you through the process as well with all of the VoiceOver commands on that guide. So if you go to www.humanware.com, click on the support link and click on the BIX series page, you will find that document there. So a couple of ways for you to get up to speed there. because it's certainly doable. And the second piece is, I have said it, and Andrew and I both have said many times, many times, and I'll say it again, and Andrew will back me up, and hopefully would say the same thing. We'd probably say it in stereo. Audio is coming. That does not mean NLS Bard yet. It may mean that at some point, but audio is coming. Audio will be on the device. Both devices are capable of audio. The BI40X has stereo speakers. The BI20X has a mono speaker. The BI40X has a microphone, so audio notes would be a possibility. Audio, we've said that will mean audio files. The ability to play Bard books is something we certainly can look at, but we will stick to that statement that we've said many times. So it's not that it is not coming. It's just that there's nothing on Bard specifically. Bard needs licensure, and there's a lot of things that have to go on in the background to enable Bard devices, third-party devices, to play that type of audio. So it's something that we're aware of. It's certainly something that we may be able to do, but that is not something that is, on the cusp of being on the device. No, but it's certainly audio is coming. I hope that answers your questions, and we'll keep cruising.
Okay, so we have another mobile number. 195. You want to unmute yourself?
95.
Oh, plus
Hi,
A.
it's 951. Hi.
95.
Hi,
How's it going?
Yeah, that's all right. This is Nancy Younger. I'm
Hi,
not
Nancy.
trying to be mean or anything, but will there be anything with Android? I have an Android phone. And
Yeah,
will I be able to pair it with an Android phone?
Very good question. So currently, the Brainlink BIX series are not compatible to the Android version yet, and that's because the Android have not updated their onboard drivers to support our devices. Apple, in terms of mobile devices, Apple were the only one to push forward. So we are waiting for Google to push forward. I am told that we could be expecting something around September time. But
nice.
That's all I have. Unfortunately, that's really on the Google side. But we can only push so much, but they are working on updating their version. So hopefully later in the year, Nancy.
Yeah, they're definitely aware, Nancy. They're absolutely aware.
Thank you.
And know that they want, they will come into the HID protocol. It's just a matter of when. So hopefully they'll move faster than we think they may.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, folks. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Nancy.
Thank you. Okay, so next time we have Fabian. Hi, Fabian.
Fabian, how's it going?
Hi, good, and you?
Absolutely. How are you?
Good. It's good to be back.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. When you were talking about the commands for doing your bookmarks, do those same commands work on the Easy Reader Plus app for the touch?
Not quite. I mean, in general, enter with M would be the same command. It's a little bit different because on the Plus you can actually insert text in your bookmarks and things. But what I would suggest you do, if when you're in Easy Reader Plus, if you use your backspace with B command, you would jump into your book navigation, and that's where you can kind of navigate by bookmark, by page, by all of that. They're not the same commands. It is slightly different because Easy Reader Plus is more embedded. So there's some pieces there where you can download directly within the app and such, that it's not the same types of commands. But Easy Reader Plus, we do have videos and such on how to use that as well, that are going to be different, a little bit different from what we're doing in Victor Reader here on the BIX series.
Okay. And congratulations, Peter.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, next is Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
You're unmuted, Debbie.
Okay, now I'm muted. Thank you.
You're good.
I have a couple of questions. The to bring up the context menu, can you get that? Can you do that from anywhere? And that's my first question. My second question is the editor keypad, when you have to, when you create a file, is that can you store that information on the on an SD card, or is that just on the unit itself?
Sure.
And my third question would be, where do you go to see if there's updates?
All right, great question. So question one, as far as the context menu goes, it works in any sort of Keysoft Lite app. So when you're in, I mean, with the exception of the terminal, because in the terminal you're really using it as a Braille display. But when you're in the editor, when you're in Victor Reader, when you're in the file manager, you're going to be able to use Space with M or the calculator or whatever to get the shortcuts that pertain to that particular application. So Space with M is definitely something that is global. If the context menu is present, it will bring you into that context menu. So that is something that is global. The second question, when you are saving a document in the editor, when you open that save dialog, so I'm in a document, I'm taking a quick note, or I'm reviewing something, whatever it is. When I press Space with S and bring up my save dialog, you can use your previous thumb key and you can change the path. So certainly you could save a document directly to an SD card. Or when you're using the file manager at that point. So yes, you can change the path to an SD card if you have a 20X or a USB drive or whatever it may be. You can do that from within that save dialog. So that is certainly something you can do. And the third piece is, so to check for updates, you should, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, you will receive a notification when an update is available. If you miss that notification, if you are running version 1.1.1, you will be able to come into the options menu, so Space with O, and then you're going to press the letter S to find software update, and you can check for an updates there. If you can certainly also get the updates from our website and install them on a thumb drive. If Wi-Fi doesn't work for you, they are going to be available when any new updates are available. We'll put them on our support page for the BIX series, but you can certainly download them over Wi-Fi, and you will be notified. If you're not being notified, that is a setting that is going to be in your options menu that you can turn on your wireless notifications.
And Peter, I mean, it seems like there's been a couple of questions about the updates. I think if you want to know more about what could be included in this update, you should come and visit us at the show next month.
NFB and ACB
NFB,
will be
yeah.
there. We will
That's
be
right.
there, and you will definitely be able to know what's coming on all of our products. So yeah, if you visit us at NFB or ACB, certainly, we will be doing more of these webinars as well. We hope you find these helpful. We've tried to keep them evening time. I really commend Andrew for being so committed, because it is awesome to have him here. And it's very late for him, but we know that there are a lot of individuals who are interested. This is not something necessarily geared at that education side of things. So we're trying to do things a little different, but definitely stop by the booth at NFB or ACB. Talk to myself or talk to anybody who's in the booth. All of our HumanWare friends are going to be hanging. We'll be doing sessions. We'll be doing all sorts of things. So please come see us.
Okay, next caller is Jana. Hi, Jana.
I just want to know if these webinars will show up in the HW Buddy app.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they will. So the HW Buddy webinars will be on the HW Buddy app. They will also be archived on our HumanWare YouTube channel. And we will also have a transcript available that will be put up with them. So for somebody who's deafblind, I will be getting those together and from last month's webinar forward. So starting with last month, we will have transcripts available that I'm cleaning up. And those should be up, Jana, by somewhere within the next month. It takes us a little bit of time. There's a lot of back-end work to get them up to our servers, but we will get them up and you can find them.
Okay. Next caller is Nicole.
Hello, I'm here in Australia. How are you guys?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sorry that it's so late in England.
It's a bit morning there, isn't it? Sunny Australia.
Yes. Yeah, well, actually, it's very cold at the moment. It's winter, so it's like 9 degrees outside. Look, I just wanted to tell you guys, you're doing very well with these webinars and everything. Like, it certainly taught me a lot more. I've now got a Brailliant 20X. when we spoke to you at that, I think my flatmate and I were at that very
ATIA.
first thing you
Yeah.
ran. Yeah. Well, I've now got a Brilliant 20X thanks to the NDIS out here. So
That's wonderful.
I'm learning it, and
Good to
I
hear.
really love using it with my phone. So
We'd love to hear
you know.
that, and please, keep coming to webinars, Nicole. And
Yeah.
again, I will mention our user list as well for users
Yeah,
to
I'm
ask
on your
other
user
users
list
questions.
already.
Yeah.
I sent in one the other day. How do you get the case on? Because I
Right.
couldn't
Oh,
figure
it's
it
great.
out when
It's
I first
great.
got it.
And
But
it's
yeah.
exactly we love it. So thank you for coming, and we're glad you have a unit. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's sitting here beside me. I've been following along with, particularly the bit about the files and moving
Sure.
them around and all that. I didn't follow the NFB one so well because I've just gone and gotten rid of that because we've only got Bookshare
Sure.
so far
Sure.
here in
No
Australia.
problem.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thanks for
Right.
attending. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nicole.
And just before we'll take one or two more questions before we do, just so anybody knows, if you're not familiar with the BI user list, it's not a support channel, but Andrew and I and others do look at it. I try to respond when I can throughout my craziness of the days, where applicable. It's a groups.io user group, and Andy, I could throw it into the chat in a moment, but the address, if you'd like to subscribe, is brilliant-bi-x-users. The +sign, subscribe at groups.io, and it works like any other groups.io mailing list. So certainly it's been growing. It continues to grow. We continue to see people kind of float up there, and I'm going to drop that into the chat. Again, brilliant BIX users, all separated by dashes, plus subscribe at groups.io if you would like to sign up.
It's great to hear so many positive things on the Brilliant display, Peter. In fact, we're very much looking for some actually, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Testimonials, that's the word, testimonials. We're looking for some testimonials, so please, if and in fact, any type of constructive feedback about the product would be really appreciated. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at humanwarelive@humor.com. We are looking for some of those, God, it's a bit late in the night for me.
Hey, you're good.
So we are looking for some positives and also negatives about the
testimonials are
product.
great,
Testimonials,
as well as, I mean, again, suggestions, webinar topics you may like. Andrew and I, sometimes we're a small crew putting together materials, but we certainly want to keep things coming. We put together the JAWS guide, the guide for iOS. We do have a lot of videos in the pipeline in terms of short snapshot tutorials. Doing these kinds of webinars, we're gonna continue to do these things. So, and we appreciate everybody hanging out with us and being here. And definitely, I don't think we'll see anything in July from us because we're going to be doing NFB and ACB. So please come see me there, listen to my sessions. I know I'll be on ACB radio and doing various podcasts. I'm sure many of you have heard me in lots of places over the past several months. But we will be kicking off HW Live webinars again, probably in August, September, and we'll continue them as we go forward.
Okay, we have one more caller left. Let's
All right,
go.
one more. That's it.
Steve.
Steve,
Hi,
rock
Steve.
and roll.
Good evening. Appreciate you guys, especially Andrew, making the effort to do this. Learned a couple things. I'm curious if you guys are ever going to be moving the Wikipedia app from Victor Reader into the Victor Reader part of the Brilliant. It may be kind of frivolous because you can do it on your phone or whatever, but just having that right there on the Victor is awesome, and being able to read that sort of thing in Braille would be really cool. And a totally unrelated comment, but I have to say how incredible it is to be able to switch totally within a half a second, literally. I mean, 3 keystrokes, home, 1 letter, and the enter key between my various devices on the Brilliant. It's awesome. Your competitors don't even come close. So thank you for whatever work went into doing that, because it's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. And I love the, it's one of those features, the Wikipedia side and Wiktionary. Something I think many people don't know how to use on this Trek Stream side of things. I certainly have done a few webinars on it years ago. Definitely something we can look at. I do see where it has some usefulness. for saving articles and things like that. So it has not come up to this point, but you're talking to the right people as far as making that kind of suggestion. So if others would concur, you could certainly send us a note at humanware.com if that is something that you would like to see. So that's a great one, Steve. I have not come up with anybody asking for that yet, but certainly something we can look at because we do already have it on the other devices. So it's awesome.
Yep. Definitely a great request. I think they have a Wikipedia Wiktionary. Is that right on the
Yes.
Victor Reader, isn't it?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I think at some point potentially that could happen. I could foresee that happening for sure.
Well,
it would be a very
certainly
useful.
when we add, we know that libraries will come to the device. It's not a question, and I think I said this earlier. It's not a question of when. It's just not if, I should say, but rather when. And so we're aware that there are other libraries out there, lots of libraries that we support on the Victor Reader side. So in theory, we're looking at as that expands or grows, that is certainly another online service. So something like Wikipedia or Wiktionary certainly is in the cards.
Good stuff.
All right,
Well,
Andrew.
that concludes today's
give it time
webinar.
to rock
So yeah, thank you very much everyone for joining us. Thank you, Peter. And we will upload the recorded webinar in due course. So we probably expect around about a month, we would say, hopefully sooner than that. But as Peter said, there's a lot of back end to and through from different departments on creating these videos and uploading them. But hopefully we'll get those up very shortly for everyone to.
And the transcript. I'm excited about this transcript. I can't wait to go through and hear myself talk and fix all of my blundering mistakes that I make as I talk. So and
that
yours,
takes a lot of time. That would take a lot of time.
Yes, it does.
So thanks everyone for
All right,
joining us.
friends.
Take care and have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Andy.